Welcome to Shaped. I'm Eric White. Today, I'm stoked to release the first episode of Shaped, a new podcast series about the relationships that shape the people I look up to. For the first episode, I speak with Mikey and Cookie Leon. Mikey is a DJ, producer, and co-founder of the Desert Hearts Music and Art Festival and record label. Mikey is joined by his wife, Cookie. Well, thank you, Mikey and Cookie Leon, for joining me on Shaped.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Whenever I was starting this, you were the first person I thought of, Mikey. And I was stoked whenever you said you wanted to have Cookie on it because you guys are a huge part of my life. We spent time living together in good old San Diego, and your relationship, this podcast is going to be all about relationships, not necessarily couples. There's going to be several couples, but just relationships in general and how they shape each other. And I've always felt like you guys were one of the main examples in my life and inspirations for wanting to become just a better person in general. So it's a pleasure to have you guys on here.
Thanks for having us. Thank you so much.
Great compliment.
So to get this started, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, you're married. Mm-hmm. You guys just got married. How long have you been together? How long has your relationship since the very first meeting been?
We were just talking about this today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in December, it's 11 years since we started hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Married for 2 years.
Married for 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you loving a love relationship, like a couple?
Almost 11 years too, because it was we were like official in love. What,
3 months in? 3 or 4 months in.
3 or 4 months in. It's the first time that I told her that I loved her, and I was like, okay.
We were both 22, so young love, but yeah, we were pretty much from the beginning.
Right,
fell for each
sparks
other
off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but when we met, we didn't plan on being together very long. We were both just looking to have fun and party. Mikey said he was moving to Berlin. He told me he loved me, and then he's like, but don't get attached. I'm moving to Berlin.
Really?
So I was confused. But yeah, it's.
I mean, that wasn't at the same time. That didn't happen at the same time.
It was like a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we were only 22 then.
Let's go back to the first meeting. How did you guys first meet and everything start off?
So we officially met, I think, for the first time at some big rave or something. We didn't really exchange numbers or anything there. We
had mutual friends. You had just moved back from college.
Yeah, I just moved back to San Diego, and we were just totally just mutual friends. And then I was playing this party in La Jolla, and I was the opening DJ. I think I played from 9 to 9:30 at that party. And then I invited Cookie, and
I remember you posted on my Facebook wall.
Really?
Yeah, you're like, come to this party, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go.
Nice.
I'm gonna go meet up with this guy.
Facebook Casanova, dude.
Uh-huh. And then you had just broken up with your boyfriend, officially that night, right?
Yeah, that afternoon. So I kind of went out on the prowl, and yeah, I knew you were into me.
Yeah.
So yeah, we hung out, and I honestly didn't think we would hang out again after that night.
We
hung out at the party that you were DJing.
We hung out at the party.
We hung out at the party and after.
Yeah. And then I went back to Cookie's house.
We spent the night.
And then she, in her head, thought that it was just going to be a one-time thing. And I'm like, this is by far the hottest chick that I've ever hooked up with. I need to date this girl or something. And so the whole time I was like, no, let's go on a date. And then I hit you up a week later and we went out.
Yeah. I remember he texted me a week later and said, oh yeah, I forgot. I was supposed to take you out on a date. And
just playing, you gotta play it smooth.
For sure.
Yeah. And then we started dating after that. But I think we both, for me, I didn't want to be in a relationship because I thought, man, you had to be tied down. You couldn't have fun. You couldn't be yourself. And we both always have had so much fun together, supported each other, being ourselves. And I think that's why it always worked from the beginning for
Yeah.
me.
So you guys were, that's one thing I definitely associate with both of you as individuals, but also as a couple, is just an ability, you know, it's very rare. I don't think I've ever seen any jealousy or anything. You're always very open with like other people. It's never like a sexual thing with other people, but even if like you signed a girl's ass on tour one time or something, right? And I
Recently.
highly doubt that caused any issue in your house, right?
Not at all.
No, I mean, to be honest, like when I first pulled it up, I was like, it's triggering. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
But then there's like the second of that. And then I remember how solid we are and everything that we have. And it's like, it's a little bit of a persona, or like you're yourself, but it's like you're a DJ and like you go on tour and you do your thing. And I trust you and I'm not worried about it. And so we don't let it become an issue. You know?
Yeah, we've never had jealousy issues ever
and
since
it's not
the
that
beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've always felt so in love and so trusting of one another that there was never any jealousy ever. Even when people will like hit on you at a club or at a party, and I'll just like sit in the background and like watch, and she'll just be like,
Yeah, help me out.
and I'll be like, just like,
It's almost like it becomes like an inside joke between you two.
Well, I
right?
think that you acting that way created an environment for me not to be jealous too, because I'm like, well, if you're not going to do it, there's no point for me doing it. And it's not that jealous feelings don't come up, but it's like if they do, like when Mikey first started touring, I would just be like, hey, I feel kind of insecure. Like, can we talk about what's going to happen if, you know, like a girl hits on you on tour, and just that open communication.
Yeah.
You work through the jealous feelings. Because I think it's like, for me at least, they're always going to come up a little bit, but
yeah,
it's just not acting on it or letting it fester and turn into something else.
Yeah.
I think we feel really confident in our relationship.
definitely.
Yeah, and we have to be. Like, if we're going to live this lifestyle of Mikey touring and me at home a lot, that's how it's going to work for us.
Yeah. So would you say that ability to not let things like that, like jealous situations where, you know, a normal couple, jealousy is something I used to struggle with all the time. I think I've gotten much better at it, and I would get triggered pretty hard by pretty stupid things. But as our relationship has gotten better, that's gotten better. Do you think that your ability to do that already or throughout your relationship is a result of the other person, or is that something you've always had in all of your relationships? Like, have you been a jealous person in the past?
I feel like, Mikey, I don't know, how were you?
No, not really.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I fell in love with about you right away, is he's very confident person, just naturally, very secure, which feels good to be around that. And definitely for me in past relationships or just dating scenarios, I was probably had very jealous moments and insecure moments. But when you're with someone who's just feels secure and confident in themselves, it makes me feel secure. So I think that influenced me a lot.
It's weird because I've had ex-girlfriends cheat on me, and so like I technically should, but I just like, I don't know. I guess with you, it's just I've never questioned it. I've just always felt your loyalty, and it was something that I never questioned with you, and I'm never jealous with you.
I like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, the main thing about this podcast that I want it to be is how you influence each other. You know, it's obviously the relationship aspect of yours, the jealousy thing is an important issue for sure, but I'm mostly interested in how you guys influence each other. So maybe we can just start with Mikey. Who were you before you guys dated, and how has that person changed as a result of this relationship?
So I've always had the dream of being a DJ and making music and running a record label and touring around the world as a DJ. And when we first met, it was, I was like just out of college trying to find any gig imaginable that I could find in San Diego. There wasn't even really like a scene or anything. And so we ended up creating our own scene essentially by starting our own parties, then starting our own festival, starting our own record label and culture. And this whole time, I did this all under the premise of spreading as much love and positive energy as possible. And I actually had a pretty, I think, tough exterior. In college, my friends they'd like call me like black-hearted, and just totally, but I definitely was not nearly as empathetic and able to feel and able to love as much as I've been with her. And so in a way, she's been like my recharge and my battery pack of love that has been able to help me push this love out into the world. And whether it's with music or the energy that I'm putting out there, she's like my recharge, she's where all this love gets made.
Right. It's not just, it just doesn't come, like, it wouldn't exist in a vacuum. It needs to come from somewhere. And so it's like flowing through you from this source that is Cookie.
Yeah. And we have this just insane chemistry together, that the amount of love that is just flowing between us, whether on a biological standpoint or like metaphysical standpoint, it's just so pure and so good that it just makes me want to share that with everyone. And I want to be an example of how people can love one another, how people can live their best life and just be the best versions of themselves as possible. And I think that so much of that comes from Cookie.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think meeting Mikey taught me to believe in that dream and believe in the cause of, spreading the love and the positivity. And when I met him, he told me, I want to be a DJ. This is what I'm going to do. And I was pretty lost. I didn't really believe in myself. And Mikey gave me that example and just really pushed me to believe in myself. And that's been a big driving force in our relationship. And a big part of our relationship is me supporting, that dream or that cause or that purpose of being of service to the community and spreading light and positivity. And that's also come with, some really hard times of actually feeling in his shadow and, okay, well, I'm with this person who's doing great things. And what am I doing? And feeling separated from that. But there was a point in our relationship where, I don't know, it felt like it came together and it was like one team, one dream. And like the support that I give him, the support that he gives me, it's all one working towards, the Desert Hearts community or just everyone who's in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Do you see his platform and his work with Desert Hearts and his career as a DJ as, it sounds like you see it now as more a part of you more than you did before, whereas before maybe you felt intimidated or, like you said, overshadowed by it, but now it sounds like you feel like more of a cog or a wheel in that machine, right?
Definitely. Yeah. It's always an ego check. Yeah. For years, I definitely just, felt in the shadow or questioned myself. Okay, what's going to be my thing? I need to be as great as this person. And probably getting engaged and married was a really big turning point for us. Just feeling like, we're a team. Everything we do is for each other. And Mikey's success is my success. My success is his success. We're truly a family. And so, whatever, sometimes maybe supporting him is helping out more around the house or posting something on social media for him. But like, it is all supporting this greater cause. And that's what feels good in my heart for sure.
Yeah, I love that. So it's a lot of just doing what you can, right? Like recognizing the spots that you can help and taking that opportunity to help. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot of checking my ego too. And it's taken a lot of spiritual work to not always have to be the one who's getting the attention or being in the spotlight. And it still happens sometimes where I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm in the shadow. But it's like if I really check in with myself and see where those feelings are coming from, it's just ego. And that doesn't matter.
Do you think has that been the biggest challenge, do you think, for you in supporting Mikey and being in this relationship?
I think over the years, it's been a challenge.
From a business perspective or from, what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that as much anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, there was some time where I felt like I had to live up to what he was doing. And I think there might have been some pressure from Mikey for that too. And then I think we realized when we work together, that's the strongest we can be. Mm-hmm. Would you say so?
Yeah, I think that there was a want or desire that we're supposed to be this power couple or something where we each have our own individual things that we're doing and we're like ascending as this power couple type thing.
Which was your vision mostly in the beginning.
I think so. But also I think as we got older and just started figuring out what made the most sense, it was to kind of just come together and figure out the best way that she can support me in my career, and then
while still using my personal gifts and talents.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're starting a business together now. We're starting a clothing brand, and so that's intertwined between music and my passion, which is mainly fashion and styling.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, like you said, your one of your passions is fashion and styling, and the community that Mikey has helped create has been, that's a driving force, of course, is fashion.
Definitely.
Desert
Self-expression.
Hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you feel like that is part of your role then, is in this whole thing, is to kind of look steezy and support the fashion aspect of it?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely, like, but just not like looking fashionable or, steezy for a way to be like, look at me. But I know, just because I talked to some of the females from the Desert Hearts community in real life, and it's when you wear an outfit that maybe is outside the box or funky or just loud, it can inspire people to do the same. And it's really about being expressive, and that's what our Desert Hearts community is about, is expressing yourself through music, fashion, whatever it is, the live art, dancing. And so I think fashion just plays a huge part of that, and that's just definitely something that's always come natural to me and my favorite way to express myself. And I've definitely felt that role in the Desert Hearts community, and that's something it's important to me.
Yeah, you've done an amazing job with it. And I think one of the really cool parts of our relationship has been just seeing how we've both been able to help people and lead by example and really show people that I guess that there's a better way to live, and that there's a really fun way to get the most out of life with your community, with your art, with your self-expression, music, everything. It's been such a huge part of what we've created over the years that I want other people to just start their own parties and build their own friend groups. And the same way that we have all these friends with couples now, I want like everyone to feel that, because it feels really good, and it's a beautiful thing to have that kind of support and community.
To show people they can live a creative life. You can live a life outside of the box. You can go after your dreams. Like, you don't have to do what society tells you to do.
Right.
Like, you can have a lot of fun. You can wear weird clothing. You can do whatever you want. You can throw a festival where the music goes 72 hours. Just like, you can do it.
Yeah. you've toured a ton over the years, since, when was the first one? 2018? Is that right?
First tour?
The first tour, was that 2018?
That was like 2015.
Damn, it was that long ago.
Yeah.
Damn, the summer tour, the summer of love.
Oh yeah. Good
Yeah,
memory.
So you've had wins without Cookie. Of course, she's been to all the festivals, right? But you've had wins without her. How do you compare those types of wins without her versus the ones where she's present? Like, what's the difference there? How does it feel to have her?
I like having her win. I would prefer to have her at my big wins.
Yeah.
Because it's just having that love and that comfort right there is pretty amazing. She's coming with me on Saturday to Santa Barbara. She doesn't get to come with me that often on tour because it's grueling, it's a grind. It's going in and out of different cities and on barely any sleep. It's like if it wasn't your job, it's hard.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not built for that.
Yeah. So you're like, I don't want to be there for every
No,
single
Yeah.
one.
it's funny because I feel like people sometimes project their dream of why aren't you on tour all the time? I'm like, I don't want to be. First of all, it would be so expensive, but I would just be so tired and I need rest. So I like to go to the big ones. When I'm there, it's great, and when I'm not, it's great too.
Well, when
But
I'm
it's
on
like,
tour,
I'm happy for you. You're doing your job.
when I'm on tour, I'll be walking around the crowd, and then like some girls will come up to me and they'll be like, yeah. Like, where's Cookie?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because they all love her. They all are so inspired by her.
You have the best fans.
And
the
we
nicest
really do.
people.
Yeah.
And everyone's just so approachable and so cool. That's one of the coolest things about what we've created is just we've created this fan base and this community that is just so unbelievably down to earth and approachable. And it's like when we put out this message of spreading as much love and positive energy as possible at our parties, the people that attracts are the most amazing, beautiful people inside and out. And you really don't get that at a lot of house and techno parties. It can be very like separated, I guess, and people kind of stick to themselves and don't merge with other friend groups at the party. But at ours, it's always been a big family, a community vibe, and yeah, I think
back to having me there and not there is, I don't know, sometimes me not being there actually makes us stronger. And back to this term that we recently came up with, which is like the love battery. Like when we're together, it's recharging that love battery. I think sometimes me being at home, resting, or just doing what I'm doing, being with our new puppy Herbie, and just being with my community or our community at home is like gives me the strong love battery. So when you come home, I can help you recharge.
totally.
So it's like being there is amazing, but sometimes not being there makes us really strong too.
Yeah.
It's that balance.
We've really learned to do it both ways because during the pandemic, that was the most we'd spend together consistently for a long, since basically we started dating or,
Yes.
and we got through it. It was amazing. And then, but I think when things like started coming back, we're like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to miss you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to miss you too.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder, right? Is that it?
Yeah, it's that balance. It's finding the
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah.
What kinds of things are you guys like? Obviously, every relationship has things that are being worked on, like specific areas of focus. Are there things that you guys are focused on right now as a couple to help you get stronger, or do you feel it's more so getting back into your individual strides with things opening up?
I think a big focus for the both of us the last 6 months or so has more of a spiritual practice and really being our best selves with more discipline, more like a morning routine. Mikey's been tapping into some Kundalini yoga and just like really trying to step it up to be our best selves. And I think that intertwines as a couple and holding each other accountable in that way. And I mean, we're always I'm working on something, I think, every day, right? I think every couple is. And I think that's an important thing, is just, it always does take that work. There's always going to be fights and times we're not vibing. Is there anything specific that we're working on?
I would say the number one thing, it comes from the spirituality and wanting to learn more and be more open to spirituality in general. But something that came up recently was, what is the purpose of our relationship?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
And what is the purpose of our love? And what do we want to do with that love? And really, when we thought about it, is that ultimately we do want to be of service to other people, and we want to lead by example, and we want to help and show people this way of life as much as possible.
And have purpose, and going to parties, and because it's like our 20s were about, the parties were about having a lot of fun.
Yeah, the hedonism and a lot of celebrating.
And now we've reached this point, we're both 33. You're 33,
I'm
right?
32.
Oh, okay. I'm 33, he's 32. It's checking in, what's our purpose? And we had a talk, and we decided we're going to do this talk quarterly.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask, is that something you just did for the first time, or is that...
Yeah, like a month ago. And it was something that we got to just clear the air on everything of how we're feeling in the relationship, what if we had any issues, kind of
any insecurities, just anything we wanted to talk about.
But it was all based around the purpose of what is the purpose of our love and our relationship. And we decided that we wanted to check in and do this quarterly. And since then, we've been fully in stride.
Yeah.
Completely. And I think it's probably the strongest I've ever felt towards you.
Definitely.
What was the reason for doing that?
I've started working with this spiritual teacher who is just really helping me open my eyes to how much I don't know. And I think that one of the things, I guess it was all kind of coming around my album at the time, actually, because my album is called For the Love. The pandemic was pretty hard on my career of not being able to play gigs for a year and a half. And I wanted to lose the mental health struggles that I was having during the pandemic of just not being on a routine, brain fog, memory issues of just being a fucking slouch during the pandemic. And I wanted to hit the ground running around my album. And a big part of my album for me to hit the ground running was to open myself up spiritually and truly believe in this album and what I'm doing and find a real purpose and reignite that in my life. And my teacher was like, do you understand how big a part that Cookie plays in your spirituality and your drive to help people and to show people this love? And we started examining that more and more. This is all pretty recently as well.
Yeah, and to me that was really important, because I think an issue we were having before was I didn't feel seen. So I felt like everything was around the album, and I had quit drinking for 4 months, and I had started to see a naturopath and done all this work on myself spiritually and health-wise, and I just felt like still everything in our house was about the album and Mikey's career, and I didn't really feel seen. Like I was like, hello, I'm over here doing all these things, and I just want him to see me and give me credit, and I felt overlooked. And so this was a really big turning point for us to feel seen and be like, okay, oh wow, you do recognize that. You do see that I play an important part in everything I do. So yeah, it's pretty big for us.
And I think a big part of, I guess, a back problem with my confidence is that sometimes I'm so confident in my relationships with people that I work with, or my relationships of just friends and whatnot, is that I don't show enough appreciation because I'm like, we're good, like I'm not questioning it, but sometimes I'm learning that they are. And so when we started figuring that out and had that conversation, it was like a night and day turning point for us. And
Definitely.
we're going to keep it going 100%.
That's awesome. I feel like anytime there's a couple where someone is really ambitious and has big plans, I know me and Lauren, that happens to us too, where I'll be like super focused on something, it's obviously maybe something small or whatever, but we've had a similar talk. We haven't gotten as deep as you guys with the purpose part, but where it's like, you haven't done anything around the house. You've just been focused on your thing. Why don't you take a break and hang these pictures or something, and it's like, I commend you for being able to get into that place and like slow down.
Yeah. That was a couple of years in the works too.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But I think when people do have strong ambition, like you said, the blinders go on, and maybe that's part of the success. But when you're in a partnership, it's that other person sometimes is like, hey, let's just check in.
I would say the other biggest moment in our relationship was getting married, because I grossly underestimated how important that was going to be for us spiritually. I don't know, for whatever reason, I just didn't give it the respect that it deserved.
Yeah, I think you just thought this is something that we do.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
And when we had all of our friends and loved ones there,
Family.
all celebrating our relationship but then to learn what our relationship meant to so many people in our friend group, because like we've basically been dating since the beginning of our whole crew and our friendship, and
before Desert Hearts,
and we've introduced so many couples that were at the wedding, and so it was just this. That was when I was like, oh my God, this is it's bigger than us, and that's why I thought that when we honed in on what our purpose is of the relationship, and that's, I think that was a big one for sure.
Yeah, I feel that. Felt cosmic.
Yeah, it was really cool, and I highly recommend getting married.
This is going to insert an ad for wedding rings or something. Do you guys ever feel the pressure from your friend group, as being, you're a role model, obviously your relationship is something a lot of people look up to. Does that ever create a pressure in the relationship where it makes it feel more difficult to be in love, because you almost feel as though you can't mess up, you can't make mistakes, because you have to be this kind of good example?
For me, I would say no. And I think a big part of that is, like, if you look at either of our social media, part of our personalities is we're transparent. And so I actually like to tell people that we have problems, because I don't want people to think that relationships are perfect or they're easy. And because it flows, but it takes work, and we work at it. And I think that's real. And I think that's the beauty of love, is being committed and sticking through the hard times. So I'm comfortable being open with the challenges. I like showing people that I'm human, and that it's okay to be human, and it's okay to have all the ranges of emotions and celebrate the wins. And sometimes there's losses, but I don't know, I feel comfortable in that. So I don't feel that pressure.
Yeah. No. I don't feel that pressure either. It's not something that I think about, of having to live up to other people's expectations of our relationship. Our relationship is for us. And
Yeah, we just let it flow naturally.
So then that realization at the wedding, that just realizing all the different paths that your relationship has, helped create, that was more so of just like this source of gratitude, and it didn't put a new pressure on you of like,
Exactly.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just felt really good.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just have the best friends ever. We have so many amazing people in our lives that we're really close with, and I don't think a lot of people can really say that, you know. And I wish,
Which is why we're so grateful.
yeah, and I want everyone to feel that. That's what would make me the happiest person ever, is if everyone could feel what we have. We're just really lucky and love getting people together, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and as we go on, and there'll be new challenges that come up, but we're dedicated to working through them. Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of things as, you know, label boss of Desert Hearts and being kind of the face of that party and the label and everything. There's a lot of challenges that arise with that, a lot of things you have to deal with on the spot. How do you balance that with your relationship with Cookie? I know obviously we just talked about the album, but I guess more broadly, like, how do you balance those two things, and how do you prioritize that, your relationship, with the work that you need to do?
Yeah, that's a cool question, because in the beginning it was really hard. I would say the times that we came closest to breaking up, it was like always right before we threw our festival, and I would just be so stressed and just have so much pressure on me, and then that pressure would leak out into our relationship, and
there was no balance then. It was like everything went to career, and I kind of had to be okay with that sometimes. Not that you weren't a good partner, but it was, challenging.
It was really hard. And I think we've really been able to, I guess, compartmentalize the balance of having Desert Hearts and my music and everything on this side, and then having family time and time that we spend together, and try our best not to let them leak into each other when we're committing quality time to each other.
Yeah, and I think I am okay with you putting a lot into work at this point in our relationship, or if you're like, hey, I got to do this, got to record this podcast, I have this interview, I got to work on music. I think that I'm usually like, okay, cool. And I think it's when we have quality time, we make sure that's quality time, and it's quality over quantity, even though I think we do spend a lot of time together. Yeah. But we just make sure to carve out those important times for each other. And I like having a partner who's dedicated to their work and passionate about something. That makes me, that's part of why I love you. So it's,
Love you too.
Being okay with that, being okay with a lot of time going to career, I think is a big part of it.
Yeah. Do you think, so just flashback to the Desert Hearts right before the pandemic, was that a time where there was an extreme pressure on your relationship that it became hard to deal with? And the reason I'm asking this, let me just flesh out this question, is I wonder if the last year of things slowing down helped reframe the relationship of those two, of this relationship and your work life. If, you know, was this time of lockdown a shift for you, or was that shift already occurring before?
What was the Desert Hearts before the pandemic? Was that the year we got married or after?
It was the year we got married.
Yeah, before.
2019 was just a really.
So that was.
It was the year we got married, and it was also just a really difficult year.
That was more just a challenging time for Mikey personally. I was on cloud 9, going like Bachelorette, all these festivals.
There was a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of stress in our lives from your job.
Yeah.
Right? But I think we were in a solid place.
Yeah, there was just.
But I guess it was hard on our relationship.
It was just a really radical ups and downs year. That was a tough year for sure, and I think the pandemic was a little nice relief from that. I think.
But yeah, I guess I've never thought about that, but when you say that, definitely everything was going so fast. We were planning a wedding, planning a festival, planning a honeymoon. And yeah, there was we were fighting a lot, not like anything big, but a lot of little fights, and there was a lot of pressure. And I don't know if we would have done all the work on ourselves individually or as a couple if we didn't have that chance to slow down. I don't know when we would have found the time.
I know it.
So yeah,
I'm really grateful for the pandemic, for the time that.
Well, you're able to see the bright side.
Yeah. Well, I
not.
think it was the big shakeup, and it shook apart all the things that weren't supposed to be happening in our lives, whether it's relationships or jobs or just things that people believe in, and it like shook everything to the core until what was left afterward is like people realized that, for me personally, I realized that being close to family and my real closest friends here in San Diego was a massive thing for me. And we'd probably still be living in LA if it wasn't for the pandemic. And now we're here in San Diego and just so happy and reconnected. Like, we see my family once a week. And it's we see your family quite a bit still.
Yeah, and we're with our community, which is the most important thing to us.
Yeah. And so, the pandemic was ultimately a good thing in our lives, in our relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, to answer your question, I don't know if we would have found that place with the pace we were going with then.
Yeah, it's like a forced stop and evaluate kind of moment.
Definitely. And it came at the end of the lockdown, really. So it came after, like some months of COVID where we were just kind of, at least for me, trying to escape all the pain that comes with being locked down and losing jobs and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the coming out of COVID has been really beautiful. The spiritual teacher that I've been working with, he explained it in terms of it's like a hyper spring happening right now, where generally in winter, all this energy is pent up and stored, and then in spring is when all of it gets released out into the world. And for us, right before the pandemic, we were coming into spring, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, nope, not happening. You're getting a year-long winter, and then we were coming out of the pandemic in this spring, and it was just this so much pent-up energy has just been being released right now, and I think it's just a really spiritual time in general, and so that's why I think it was really important for me and for us to like tap into that and really try to align ourselves with the motion of the universe. So
I like that.
Yeah.
I agree.